Hey YouTubers, and welcome back to another Creed Rocky discussion. I haven't done one of these on this channel for a really long time, but for most of the people who have been here for a long time or came over from my other channel, I hope you guys know I am a huge Rocky fan. Rocky, I mean, I guess you could say the Saw franchise is the Star Wars, at least to me, of the horror franchise, but Rocky is my Star Wars, guys. Those movies that I grew up as a kid. My dad got us the 15-year, or at least, I think it was like the 15 or 20 year at that point, VHS pack for the entire 5 films that were out at that time. And bro, I watched every single one of those movies. Even five, which is a bad one. So many times I broke those VHSs. Every single day I'd run home and I would watch at least one Rocky movie for well over a year. It was amazing. And I've grown up with these films. Since that time, we've gotten Rocky Balboa. We got the amazing Creed. This franchise has been in an upkick. And we're going to be getting very soon here Creed 2. And joining me today is actually, I was talking to him, MJ from MJ TV, man. Why don't you say hello to everyone listening?
Hello, everyone that's listening. Thank you for having me back on the channel, Mark, to talk about this.
Creed 2. Creed 2. Okay, so what we're looking at here, what you guys are looking at here, is the new poster that was sent out by Sylvester Stallone. So for a lot of people who don't know or do not keep up, yes, we're getting Creed 2 in the next couple of months here. I think it's in 2018. We're actually going to be getting this movie. And for a lot of people who don't know, Ryan Coogler has stepped away from directing this time. Obviously, he was there directing Black Panther that recently came out this weekend, which is absolutely destroying the box office. But in his place, eventually, or at least I guess initially, was Sylvester Stallone. He recently stepped down from the directing chair, and they gave it over to Stephen Caple Jr., who I haven't actually seen any of the other films that he's done. I really can't speak to his credibility, but I'm really kind of excited that they kind of took it away from Sylvester Stallone. I personally just was a little bit offhanded. Like, I don't really want him to be directing this. Creed to me felt like way more of a personal film that didn't need to go the way of the Rocky sequels like Rocky 3 or Rocky 4. It needed to stay personal. It didn't need to be big, bold, and completely formula driven. What are your thoughts on Sylvester Stallone writing the script and also stepping away from the director's chair? Do you think it was a best opinion or idea, or do you think you would have liked to see him actually direct that film?
I'm fine with it. I can understand some people who may like it, just because of the connection to the series, but overall, I'm okay with it for him stepping away. It kind of does make sense, because I think that's what made Creed, the very first one, special. You know, back in 2015 when it first came out, I think a lot of people felt that personal, that realism to it, and just the connection there that I'm not too sure if it would have been there had, let's say, Sylvester Stallone actually directed that one, if he had directed the first. I'm not trying to say anything horrible here. I'm just saying that there was something special about Creed. I think that's what made it such a huge film, because, Mark, there's some people that I talked to that actually like Creed more than every single Rocky film, and there's some who put it like in their top 2, which it's very crazy to think, because I think a lot of us back during the rumblings, of, a movie coming out about Apollo's son and this and that, okay, and then we got it and it was so good, and there's really only tiny flaws, and I mean very tiny flaws, that you can point out in that film. One of them obviously being the reveal of who won between Apollo and Rocky in the third match, which we've talked about before off air, not sure if on air, but overall a great film. So him stepping away from part 2 does make some sense to me, and I can't speak on the credibility of what's his name again?
Ryan Coogler?
No, the one directing part 2.
Stephen Caple Jr.
I can't say anything about him, because off the top, I do not think I've seen anything of his. So, but overall, I'm happy for it. I mean, I think some people may say that it may be a bit predictable to go the whole Russian route, I guess, with the son of Drago, but it's whatever. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really hyped. Creed 1 had me really hyped, and seeing this poster got me really hyped. Like, we turned down a Dragon Ball discussion to do this, so yeah.
And to anyone who knows our original channels, yeah, that's what we do. We do a lot of Dragon Ball discussions. But you're right, man. Like this poster, this movie, I am so hyped. I should be covering this movie more than I actually cover it. And for most people, I just want to kind of go back to what you were saying about some nitpicks that we had with Creed. The biggest to me, and I know you and I talked about this, I never think we actually said it on air, but to me the biggest was the whole Apollo versus Rocky fight. And when Creed actually meets, or Adonis actually meets Rocky at Adrian's, he's like, hey, I heard there was a third fight between you two. Who won? He was like, it's private, like it didn't really happen, blah, blah, blah. And then within that conversation, Rocky's just like, your dad did. Like, your dad actually won that fight, and yada, yada, yada. And it's like, that seems to me like something that should have been held onto until the very end of the actual the movie. Sitting there, last round, this is your last chance. By the way, your dad actually won that fight. And like the through line, like, the whole time he's bothering him. He's like, yeah, who won that fight? Who won that fight? It was private, it's secret, blah, blah, blah. We don't need to talk about it. That's the thing I wish they would have actually done. But if that is the one real big, like, head-scratching takeaway I have from that movie, you can really kind of see my opinion on it. I loved Creed. And, for all of the backlash that Sylvester Stallone gets when it comes to the Rocky movies, they get too formula driven. Like Rocky 4 is literally like 4 big montages.
Yeah.
and they're all great, but it really is a story told through like classic 80s montages. But honestly, when he is really on his game, I think he tells a really beautiful story. Rocky Balboa, at least in my opinion, is one of the better Rocky sequels because it tells the story that Sylvester Stallone needed to tell at the time. This guy, he's kind of living off of this fame of his. It's kind of affected everyone in his life, especially around that time, because if you remember, his son, who starred as his son in Rocky 5, I believe around that time his son had OD'd, and this is something is like, it's affecting everyone around me, my fame, but it's something I really can't escape, and it's always this thing I always need to keep driving forward. A very personal film, in the same way that Creed was. I mean, Creed with Ryan Coogler, we talked about it a whole lot on the commentary and everything leading up to this film. Coogler with Michael B. Jordan, after they got with Fruitvale Station, is like, hey, this is something, I've grown up with these films, I really wanted to do it. It was a passion project. I really remember my father for this. He introduced me to the Rocky franchise, and I want to make this movie for my father. And he approached Sylvester Stallone at that time. Sylvester Stallone was like, no, it's done, I don't want anything to do with it. And then slowly built up and impressed him enough and showed him like, look, we can do this. I really would love to do this. And Sylvester Stallone said yes. That to me just, I think, encapsulates the entirety of the Rocky franchise, that it's this underdog story. People tell no all the time, even going back to the original, the stories they tell about the original Rocky franchise movie, where Sylvester Stallone wrote the script, he wanted to star, no one was going to let him star, he was starving, and he got, he held out to the point where he was actually able to be in control of this movie, star in it, and even though it was a smaller budget, look at where it's come from since then. And every single story ever told in this franchise since then, I think, has always touched me on a very personal level, because it's one of those series, one of those stories, one of those characters, one of those universes that always makes you want to push yourself. I don't care which one you watch, if for whatever reason, I want to freaking run 10 miles. I want to like go through a marathon, lift some weights, like literally get into a ring and fight someone after watching a Rocky movie every single time. And I really hope they continue that with Creed 2.
No, yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying, because as we were mentioning earlier, the personal level that these films can get with you, obviously Rocky Balboa and Creed, the very first one, come to mind. So when all that stuff, when you think about it, bro, you are right, because whether or not it seems like, like a cliche or something, we've always run into that, oh, you can't do this or you can't do that, you can't ever think about doing this as a future. You know what I mean? You kind of get told that. You just get told no in one way or another, whatever it is, whether it's, making music, whether it's writing, whether it's wanting to become a basketball player, whatever it is, right? You kind of get told no, and these films hit you on that level, not only from the actual story within the film, but when you look up a lot of what happens in, I guess, outside of that, the actual production, the backstage stuff and all that, there's a lot to that. The whole underdog story is in the element in the story and outside the story, in universe and out of universe, and I think that hits a lot of people, and I can definitely see why, which is why I'll never argue with you or even try to debate with you. There's no point anyways about this being like your Star Wars, you know what I mean? Because people see their Star Wars as the gospel, and you see this as your version of the Star Wars. This is your favorite film franchise, at least outside of horror. So I think that's really special, and there's a lot to it. And I hope Creed 2 does kind of capitalize on what made Creed just so awesome and what made it stand out. It gave the franchise a breath of fresh air. It was personal. It was like Balboa, but it had a different twist on it. Ryan did a wonderful job with it. I can't wait to see what Steven does with it and to see exactly how it comes out to play, because even though you and Danny did a video a long time ago that I remember watching about the idea of Drago coming back and it being kind of predictable or this and that, but overall I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to see it and see what happens.
Yeah, and I just wanted to kind of take a couple minutes here. I know we kind of got a little off topic. This was really about to be for Creed 2, but I just had to share my love with the franchise. I hope you guys have enjoyed the discussion, but I want to just kind of take some moments here to kind of share, at least in my opinion, what could be the downfall of this movie. So one of the things you've seen watching this video is we did get this first picture. Like I said, Sylvester Stallone shared the first picture, the first poster for Creed 2. Gets us really excited. Turned down another video just to do this discussion. But this idea that they're going back. They're bringing back Drago. They're bringing back probably one of the weirdest things that this franchise has ever done with the whole Russia conflict, boxing, Rocky literally ending the Cold War in one fell swoop, one fight, to the point where literally like the entire Russian audience is literally cheering for him instead of their own champion. It's so cartoonish, and it doesn't work. I don't know if it works in the world that Ryan Coogler built with Michael B. Jordan in Creed. Now I can accept the fact that this has been some time off since Rocky Balboa, and obviously people are way more onto like what Adonis is and what Apollo Creed was for the boxing world, where Creed, at least in my opinion, takes a weird turn where it's like, look, Apollo Creed is the master, he's the Ali of this universe, where this guy is the best that's ever was and no one's ever going to beat him. But we just spent 6 movies seeing how utterly badass Rocky was, right? And no one talks about it. No one even imagines that Rocky is anything more than just kind of a washed up hag. But this guy just comes back way too late, and he has this, resurgence of him, and no one ever really talks about it. No one really appreciates it. And part of me, when I first heard that they were bringing back Drago and potentially Drago's son, which obviously that's what happened because we have a new boxer. One of the biggest thing this franchise always does is actually hire a boxer. I think ever since I think ever since 5 they did, where they were hiring real boxers and real athletes to actually take the rings. Maybe Mr. T was, but I can't actually remember. I don't think so.
Not off the top, but I get your point, yeah.
Yeah, but Florian Montanu.
Florian Mutanu? I can't remember, bro.
Mutanu. Yeah, Florian Mutanu. Sorry to get the name wrong, but yeah, like this guy's actually a real boxer. He's playing Drago's son. And I was wondering when I first heard that they were bringing back Drago, like, is this going to be a way for them to kind of take away the mistakes of the past, give us this realization that yes, Rocky is a well-respected boxer, and the tension between Drago and Rocky is going to be there. Obviously, the tension between Drago killing Apollo Creed and Michael B. Jordan, kind of, at least in the way that they pretty much touched on but didn't really extrapolate at the end of Creed, is this kid is going to be there and correct the mistakes of the father, correct the sins of the father, or even relive the sins of the father with Drago coming back and him having to fight the guy's son. I'm not really sure. I can go either way. I just think that what they did in Rocky IV is so cartoonish, it won't really fit well if they take that exact same character that hasn't aged or is portrayed in the exact same way and put him into Creed 2, if you understand what I'm saying.
No, yeah, I completely get you on that. It does make sense, and I think that's one thing that really makes this movie stand out is there's a lot of, I guess, nostalgia when it comes to 4, more so than the others. I can see why, because obviously
it's the most patriotic movie ever made.
The patriotic movie ever made. So I can definitely see the nostalgia there. So that's one of the reasons why, even though I do think it's a bit predictable, because like I said, you and Danny did a whole video talking about this a long time ago, that they're going to be bringing back possibly Drago, and not just that, but his son as well. So the idea of that happening, I think it does make sense, at least in my opinion, when you look at it from the way you were painting it. And I can't wait to see what happens, because obviously, I don't think they're gonna capture what happened in 4. I don't think that's their intention, but I I think after Creed, it's something to at least look forward to. You know what I mean, and see what happens because, like you said, when you sent that poster to me, bro, it's like both Rocky and Drago, like they're ready to fight, throw down too, and the poster obviously just is there to generate hype, and it obviously did with us. So I can't wait to see what happens in 2.
The last question I have here, and this is legitimately something that was something I thought was going to be the sequel. It was an easy sequel, which could one way or the other. I mean, it could have been so easy that it wasn't interesting, or it could have been so easy that it would have added a huge dynamic to the story. One of the things that we see at the very beginning of Creed is Duke. Duke was Apollo Creed's trainer, and then obviously Rocky's trainer in Rocky 4. His son training another boxer that Michael B. Jordan's Adonis character wants to get his attention. Hey, I need you to train me. You know, like my father had your father train him, and or yeah, blah blah blah. And he's like, no, you know, you're not your father. Blah blah blah. I'm not going to train you. And that story doesn't really go anywhere. But there's a lot of familial connection there, where this baby Duke character is his at least his estranged father's old trainer. You wondering if those two guys are going to meet again, because even Michael B. Jordan's character steps into the ring and gets bodied by this guy really quickly. You're like, okay, there's going to be something here in the sequel. I mean, it's tailor-made for it, and yet it seems like they're just going to be ignoring it. Or if it even is a plot point, they're going to be just brushing over it as we're getting to Drago and Drago's son. Is that a waste? Or you think they're going to save it for the third film? I mean, what are your thoughts on that just in general?
I could definitely see them saving it for the third film. You know, I wouldn't say it's a waste, but it's one of those things, bro, where I don't know if they'll please everybody with it, but I can definitely see them saving it for the third film. But that's definitely a question for the people in the comment section down below, because sometimes when I kind of hit like a wall, like in my own videos, I turn to the comment section. That way I can definitely read those and get people's thoughts on that. But definitely saving it for the third film.
Yeah, I completely agree. I would like to see that in the third film. I just thought that it was an easy out for them for the second sequel, or at least the second film. And I'm wondering why they went this particular route, bringing back, as I said, the most cartoonish character in the entire series, and going to throw that and shove it down our throats. I mean, it might end up being awesome, and considering the pedigree of this series, ups and downs, but at least the strength of Creed, I'm really hoping that this ends up being a really good film. But with that being said, guys, we're going to leave it there. I hope you guys are just as excited about this film as we are. I hope everyone will go down to the description section below, hit that link, and go check out MJ if you haven't already. I hope everyone also shares their thoughts and opinions, as MJ said, because there's a lot of stuff that we hit a wall with here. We don't really know how it's going to play out, or whether or not things are going to be important. If you have something to share with that, then tell us in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell over by the subscriber button to notify you every single time I upload. It's been real.